بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على رسولنا الكريم وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين أما بعد. Dear brothers and sisters, welcome back to our program, Real Life and Education. Today we will talk about one of the very delicate and important and interesting subjects, which is Al-Imama, or we're going to talk about Imam. Exactly, we will talk about the role of Imam, who is the real Imam, the highest positions in the society of Imam. Why do we have this Imam, especially in our Islamic country? Therefore, I'm really happy and pleased, as usual, to introduce my two consultants. From my left, Professor Rashid Mimouni. Welcome after a long, having a long time not coming here. You're welcome.
Long break.
Yes.
Okay.
And on my right, Dr. Mohammed Belghit. Welcome back to our program.
Welcome, brother. Thank you. It is my pleasure to be with both of you.
Thanks a lot.
In this channel.
Well, we had a long break today. We are going to start from one of the, as I said, very important subject, which is the Imam. I'm not going to say who is the real Imam, but I will say the role of Imam in our societies. We will talk as well about the change that we are living today, especially when we talk about Imama. We will talk as well about the concerning of Sharia in the Imam, which is the status, the positions of Imam. And we all know he is the prayer leader, known as a spiritual advisor. The Imam is not just the one who is going to guide people for prayer, but is the one who is going to advise people. Is the one who's got the importance of spiritual status and positions in our societies. I will start from one of you, especially.
Please,
I will start from Professor Mimouni. Who is the Imam in reality?
Well, we have Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, as-salatu as-salamu alaykum, salatu as-salam ala Rasulillah. I think we have to make a small terminological definition, because
yes.
The Imam has got a very long history, as it is mentioned in the Quran and in the practices later on. There are a lot of different categories, highly, as you said, highly honored, which have a fundamental mission in the religious sphere, that are called Imam. In the Quran, for example, Nabi Ibrahim alayhi salam has been appointed as an Imam. And the Quran said, إني جاعلك في الأرض لا إني جاعلك في الأرض إماما.
إن إبراهيم كان أمة.
وفي ذلك.
And the other verses, yeah, and the other verses talking about the Imam for Ibrahim alayhi salam as a prophet.
وجاعلك في الأرض
إني جاعلك في الأرض إماما. Voilà. Alors, then make you as an Imam, as a leader of the community, and from then on, we can say that the recognition, religious recognition of this position of the Imam. Later on, we can say that there are the great scholars, schools, the schools of madhahib, religious schools are called the Imams, for example, and we say for Imam Shafi'i. So he is a great scholar, a founder of a school of jurisprudence, religious jurisprudence. And we say, for example, who are the leaders in the hadith? Imam al-Bukhari. He's heading the science of hadith, of collecting the hadith. Then, and there is different scales or grades in the Imam. Maybe what we know more in our daily practice is the Imam of the mosques. The Imam of the mosque, who has got different functions. We can speak about them. And as they are renewed function, And before that, I think it is an opportunity to mention that the 15th of September has been appointed by a decree by the President of Algeria, قرار رئاسي, as the National Imam Day. Is يوم الإمام يوم 15 September.
The 15th of September.
Okay,
yeah,
to commemorate the date of the anniversary of the death of the great Imam Sheikh Sidi Muhammad bin Kabir, rahimahullah, the great Imam in Adrar, in the south of Algeria, who was a leader of the community of Sufi order there, a very important social reformer, a nationalist during the French colonization. He had very noble position. And there is now a university in Adrar of Islamic Studies, which is commemorating. Then we have to say maybe the last point before I take the place to Professor Belghith. In Islam, there is no religious clergy which is doing sacraments, for example, like in the church. ليست لدينا عندنا في الإسلام كنيسة بالمعنى هذا. This is Imam exercises ijtihad according to a corpus of books which have been laid down by the great scholars on his learning Quran, and he is according to this appointed as an Imam, whether by the community or by the state.
Means the Imam is not the one who had to just pray, lead the people in prayer, but he is the one and staying between four, as we say, four walls, not just between walls, but he has a lot of and important duties, if we can call them duties and tasks, inside the mosque and outside the mosque. And for me, I will start from the delicate word of Imam, and no one of us can, if we say, can translate the word Imam. Whatever you want to say, you're going to say a leader of prayers, leader of Muslim people. But when you say Imam, it is unified. I mean, it is unique words. If I will ask both of you, how can we replace the word Imam from one word? We can fold it. We can fold it and we can find it. Why? Because the status of Imam is the status of the word itself. I will ask Dr. Mohammed Belghith questions, which is the Imam is the one who has to be the example in Muslim countries?
Of course. Yes. In the name of Allah, the most gracious and the most merciful, peace and blessings upon our Imam, the Prophet Muhammad, Prophet of Islam, his family and companions. May Allah be pleased with them.
Inshallah, yes.
Well, what does it mean to be an Imam? Right. First of all, this word is, we can say that it is a Quranic word,
yes,
terminology. Right? It is an Islamic, purely Islamic terminology. It is used in the Holy Quran. إِنِّي جَاعِلُكَ لِلنَّاسِ إِمَامًا, for the Prophet Abraham. وَجَعَلْنَاهُمْ أَئِمَّةً. أَئِمَّةً is the plural of Imam in Arabic, in the Arabic language. The Holy Quran said, وَجْعَلْنَا لِلْمُتَّقِينَ إِمَامًا. Righteous people ask the Almighty Allah to appoint them and to make them as the examples for righteous people. Imam can mean an example, a model to people. That's why in Arabic, when we say that person is an Imam, that means all people look at him as a model, as an example. Right?
He is not allowed to make any mistake.
Yes, of course. So an imam, being imam, as he leads us in our prayers, that means the society has appointed him to lead the Muslims in their prayers. That means he should be competent enough to lead them in other things, right? When the Prophet Muhammad and the Muslims during the Prophet era appointed Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, the companion of the Prophet, as an imam for their prayers, right? That's why they have understood that since he has been appointed by the Prophet to be an imam for the Sahaba, the Muslims, right? That means it is more credible, right? He got the credibility to be the imam in all the society's problems, to lead people or in their worldly needs, right? So that's why imam doesn't mean only to lead people in their prayers, but the word is wider than that. In the Holy Quran, the word imam is used as the leader of the country, right? The imam.
The Khalifa is the
Either
imam.
the imam,
Yes.
I mean from the linguistic meaning, right? Either the imam in good things or imam in bad things. The Holy Quran uses Fir'aun as a bad imam, right? يَقْدُمُ قَوْمَهُ يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ فَأَوْرَدَهُمُ النَّارِ. He led his people to the hellfire, right? So, وَجَعَلْنَاهُمْ أَئِمَّةً يَدْعُونَ إِلَى النَّارِ. The Pharaoh and the dictators during the human history, Qarun and Pharaoh and Haman, his consultant, why? They led people to the hellfire, the decline of their civilization. That's why the Holy Quran said, وَجَعَلْنَاهُمْ أَئِمَّةً يَدْعُونَ إِلَى النَّارِ وَيَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ هُمْ مِنَ الْمَقْبُوحِينَ. You see, they were as imams, as leaders, leading their people to the hellfire, dictators and people who were leading people with injustice, right? So when we say imam, it might mean, according to the lexical meaning, I mean the language meaning, it means a leader either in a good things or in a bad things. Well,
yeah, there's some verse.
Islamically,
some verse
right,
about the positive imam. We say أئمة يهدون.
وَجَعَلْنَاهُمْ أَئِمَّةً يَهْدُونَ بِأَمْرِنَا. Right?
Yes.
We made them as imams, as leaders, to guide people to the
right
teachings, to the right way, to the righteousness. وَجَعَلْنَاهُمْ أَئِمَّةً يَهْدُونَ بِأَمْرِنَا. لَمَّا صَبَرُوا وَكَانُوا بِآيَاتِنَا يُوقِنُونَ. Maybe we'll come back to those very important qualities which should be provided in any imam who wants to lead people either in their prayers or in their worldly needs. Right? So imam also imama is a great responsibility.
It is.
Right?
Yes.
When somebody is appointed as an imam, he has to understand that. He has to behave with a feeling and sense of responsibility, otherwise he can spoil the image of Islam. Because all people are looking to his behavior and his conduct, how he behaves in the society, right?
Because this is what will make to him the credibility.
The very important point highlighted by Professor Mimouni, may Allah reward him, we need to understand when we talk about imam that it is totally different from other beliefs and ideologies.
Yes.
Imam is not a contact between us and the Almighty Allah. The Prophet Muhammad is a teacher. As he has been appointed as the leader, He is not an intermediate between us and Allah.
Yeah, people need
He
to know
teaches
that.
us how to worship Allah, how to follow the Islamic teachings, but we don't need to go through him to supplicate Allah, to pray to Allah. There is no intermediate between the Muslim and the Almighty Allah.
And we've got
even
this,
the Prophet themselves.
we have got this kind of dealing with some people.
We have to understand that. Maybe
who ignore that.
Maybe we can find in other religions or ideologies that they put somebody to go to the paradise. You have to get the satisfaction of that leader or the satisfaction
I think
that.
As they do the Christianity.
Yes, in Islam, وَإِذَا سَأَلَكَ عِبَادِي عَنِّي directly, فَإِنِّي قَرِيب. If my servants ask you about me, I'm very close to them. He didn't even tell to the Prophet, tell them. Even this word, tell them, no. If my servants ask you about me, I am closer to them directly. In the verse of Surah Al-Baqarah. That's why being imam, right, to lead people in their worshipping sessions or in their worldly needs, right, is a very noble mission, right? That's what I always tell to our imams when I have an occasion to meet with them in lectures with the Ministry of Religious Affairs. I always tell them there is a difference between an imam, right, who thinks only about his salary in the end of the month, and an imam who understood imamah as a mission, as a noble mission on the earth. That's why imam is not only a leader in the prayers, but he is a teacher, he is an educator, he is a preacher, right? He can teach people how should they should behave in their daily life, etc. Maybe we will come back to this point, which is very important. Thank you.
You see, we've got one of the hadith which is narrated by Abu Mas'ud radiyallahu anhu, saying that when the Prophet Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam been asked about the imam, in the hadith he's saying the imam has to get some characteristic or some of the steps, starting from the knowledge, which is he has to be the one who's got more learning of Quran, Quran Azim. If they are same, they are two which had similar positions. The one who is known as Sunnah,
who is more knowledgeable,
more knowledgeable of Sunnah. If they have similar, is the one who's got ladders, which is a Sullam, and after that, at the end, is the one who is the oldest in hijab. Is the first older, and the last age, one is older in the age.
Yes.
And before the last is the
that
one
means
who's
older,
immigrated first.
Yes.
I mean the older.
More experience.
Yes. Right. This is these things show
maybe
us.
These are the criteria,
knowledge of places of
the criteria how to appoint somebody as an imam. There should be a system of evaluation. Otherwise, if you make it open for everyone, right, we'll have to settle difficult problems, right? That's why there are criteria.
I think when we talk about that, we need to talk about the competence and not just competence, but the responsibilities, because it is a huge responsibility when you are leading a lot of people in prayer, especially when we talk about prayer. Not just anyone can pray with the people, lead the people. For this reason, we have to talk about the real imam, which has some references.
How to become imam.
Or how to become imam. I will
Please.
let Professor Mim will talk about it.
As you mentioned, both of you, I mean, in fact, the imam should be an emanation of the community. That means he's going to guide the community spiritually and in other settings. And for this, he has to be a respected person. Has been morally, has been to be a respected person. Nowadays, we can see that the appointment of imam, that means the people who are in Algeria, for example, there is about maybe 20,000 mosques or over, or more or less.
Maybe.
Then they have to be, this is responsibility on behalf of the community, on behalf of the state. Then the state has to, is appointing, is giving formation, تكوين يعني, to the imam. But before that, as you say, he has to have moral qualities, righteousness. He has to be morally. He has got moral qualities. He has to be.
We have to provide maybe, Prof, a testimony, a society's testimony of a good conduct.
Good conduct.
Yes.
A respecting community. Then we can, even there is a hadith, one who is making leader or imam of a community and they refuse him, he cannot have been appointed. Morally, he should not be.
Sure.
That is what he is going to make. People, he is catering for the spiritual needs first. Every time in society, even in any period, and particularly this one, when there is skepticism on different sects, on different religious leaders, there is denomination religions, which are, there is
community tendencies.
There are tendencies, even devilish tendencies in the society. Then the imam has to be one who lead the prayer with knowledge of the Quran, or most of the Quran. He is going to deliver the khutbah. This is important, the sermon. Yani, well, there are different grades. Administratively, there is different grades of the imam, the imam al-khatib, ila akhiri. We don't enter those in these details. We should say he is going to a sermon. Al-khutbah. Al-khutbah. As a khutbah, he is educating people. He is he is interpreting the religion according to situation. Maybe it is difficult situation. They have to be contained, how to say, to have educative, positive, didactic position towards the person who are different audience. They are youth, there are old people. And then his khutbah has to be a model of education, has to be a model of teaching. Then he's not only khutbah, he's taking, for example, during Ramadan, the whole month of Ramadan, he's going to deliver talks. He may be deliver talks to different categories, to youth, learning Quran, reading famous religious books of hadith during the week. Then this is about the praise. He may be even in very sad situations where they need psychological support, مثلا funerals, في الوفاة. In the funerals, pray. When there is Salat al-Istisqa, it is maybe minor anthem. And as an imam, for this to be a respected person, he has to be a member of the community. He has not to be arrogant. He has to be with people, inquire about their needs, to satisfy their needs, although psychologically, and has been counseling. He's maybe counseling people, and there are a lot of missions. Maybe today we can add. He's going to visit the sick. He's going to visit the sick. Well, one of the traditional things is, for example, to celebrate the marriages. And he has got to encourage people and youth to get marriage. He has to get a mission of mediation sometimes. In the neighborhood, there may be problems. He had to tackle them, to have got the spirit, the authority, moral authority, to solve, or at least to ease the conflicts. on mediations. And there is this is one of the thing, or maybe one of the thing maybe which is very important for the Imam today, is to educate youth. Imam on the team, it's not only the Imam. There is, and if he is a good person, appreciated person, there are a lot of people around in the mosque who will gather with him and will help him in his mission. For example, help the youth, avoid the youth to go to the bad way, to go to violence, extremism, and things like that. He has to be a mediator even in this. Oh well, it's a lot of things. Delinquency, to prevent them from delinquency. Okay, right. This is one of the, some of the Imam's duties. He can carry what he can do, because when we can come to his formation, how he was being educated, something, there may be flaws in his formation. He has no psychology or sociology or education. Look at there are a lot of media, youth, the great, for example, the great television and the cinema groups, I wouldn't mention them, are trying to attract the youth. And they're giving them some ideas. It's difficult for him alone to. This is the duty of a team of educators.
Talking about, as I said, about the duties of the Imam. The Imam is not just the one who pray or lead the people. The Imam is the one who teach people, who educate people, who consult people, who concile people, who advise people, who judge people. Not judging as judging, but separating between the good and bad things, etc. And more than that, he is the one who are representing people in societies. For that, I will say we need to talk about the roles of Imam, the role of Imam, the impact. If we don't have the Imam, what's going to happen to us?
Yes, first of all, the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, has mentioned that people maybe can live without food or without water, but they cannot even stay one night without a leader, yes, without an Imam. Imam here as a leader. If the Prophet Muhammad is the leader of the nation, of the Ummah, he led us in different circumstances and difficult circumstances, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, right? And he led people. He is our leader, or in the fields of life.
Yes.
He is not only the Prophet Muhammad. He is not a leader, only a leader in the mosque, inside the mosque, but he came to lead us in all fields of life, right? In political situations, in economical situations, in educational situations, whatever we need in this world.
And this will happen. This will happen with Prophet.
Yes, he is our reference. Now the Imams right? The Imams in our societies, they are like the vicegerents of the Prophet Muhammad among his nation, his Ummah. So if we understand that, we need to know that Imam is a leader who can lead people. That's why maybe some people, they have a very narrow vision about the Imam. They think that Imam, he leads his people in the mosque and that's all, and he goes back home, right? But the image of Imam, an Imam in Islam, according to the Islamic worldview, Imam should be a highly competent person who can lead his society wherever we appoint him. And he can be successful, right, in leading people in different fields of life. That's why he needs knowledge. Knowledge, not only Islamic sciences or studies knowledge, but he needs to be updated. The knowledge needed by the imam can be the contemporary knowledge. I mean imams in the early ages of Islam, during the Islamic civilization, the golden age of the Islamic civilization. As he is an imam in the mosque, he is a physician.
Yes.
He is a doctor. Al-Hasan ibn al-Haytham was leading his people in the mosque as an imam in prayers, and he was a searcher in the physical sciences laboratory. Avisan ibn Sina, same thing. He was a doctor. He was specialized in medical sciences. Al-Khwarizmi ibn Khaldun, he was a sociologist, and in the same time he was an imam. That's why in a Muslim society, Muslims during the golden age of the Islamic civilization.
Ibn Khaldun was a politician as well.
Yes, he was a politician.
Hajib.
And judge. Al-Qadi Abu Bakr ibn al-Arabi. If I mentioned the list of very successful imams during our
I think because in Islam, when we talk about that, when we, according to what you already mentioned, when we talk about that, we talk about the Islam because the Quran, Karim, we've got everything inside.
That's
you
why
just need to have a knowledge and a practice.
That's why people think that being an imam is a very simple thing and a very easy thing.
Yes,
actually,
people,
it is a very big, great responsibility because imam should be appointed according to his competencies in different fields of knowledge. If we refer to our civilization, right, imam should master different fields of knowledge. He should master even many languages, right? To preach.
Accounting.
Yes.
When we talk about miraj.
Yes. To preach to Islam, he is a preacher.
Yes.
Right. He's not only a leader in political fields or in different fields. He's an educator. He is a teacher. وَإِنَّمَا بُعِثْتُ مُعَلِّمًا. The Prophet said, I have been sent as a teacher. He is a preacher. He needs to preach to Islam, right? He is a sharing person that, as mentioned by our Prof. Mimouni, he practices the counseling role in the society. All Muslims come to refer to him, right, to advise them, as you said. He is an attending person. That means he is always present in the society. Right, he shares the problems of the society in the market. He sees the different mistakes made by his people to highlight them and to correct that in the Friday sermon or in the Eid sermon. Right, that's why being an imam is not only being leading people in prayers. We see that he shares all their life. That's why he needs a very strong character, as the Prophet Muhammad, very good conduct and manners. He needs to master different fields of knowledge, as Al-Khwarizmi, as Ibn Sina, as Ibn Rushd, who was a philosopher and faqih, right? Ibn Rushd, Al-Qurtubi, Al-Farabi was able to understand 70 languages, right? Ibn Taymiyyah was able to understand 13 languages, because people think that imam is somebody who didn't find any job,
and he got that job.
Who was jobless. He found only the way to become imam in the city, in our town, for example. So he went to become imam. Actually, an imam should be somebody who got different choices, but he chose to be an imam. And the main important thing that it is not very good to ask for imam. Let's say I suppose I ask you to appoint me as an imam because it is a responsibility. The Prophet Muhammad said in the hadith narrated by Imam Muslim, ثلاثة لا تتجاوز صلاتهم فوق رؤوسهم شبرا. 3 people, their prayers do not go higher above their heads. Right? That means it's rejected by the Almighty Allah. Why? First one is رجل أما قوما وهم له كارهون.
ساخطون. كارهون.
كارهون. An imam, somebody who asks to be appointed as an imam, and he knows that he is not competent enough. He knows that he doesn't have the testimony of society for good moral and good conduct, because this is very important.
Yes.
That's why we need to remind our brothers and sisters and our audience that it is a very high responsibility. Those who appoint imams among our mosques, they have to understand that it is a very heavy responsibility before Allah on the day of resurrection. Because if I appoint somebody to any mission and I know that he is incompetent, I have to understand that any mistake he commits, right, I will be sinful as he is, because I am the one who appointed him.
He's gonna share the same.
Yes. An imam should be a very strong person in character and manners. That means he doesn't have a complaining mentality, right? He should lead people. That means he has to be stronger than them. And we have to understand that we might be tolerating some mistakes from people. The same mistakes cannot be tolerated by an imam. That's why we believe that being an imam is a very heavy responsibility before Allah on the day of resurrection.
Right. Because let me say, when we talk about the imam, we need to talk about the speeches of the imam, of some of them. Sure. When we talk about speech, the speech is one of the important elements.
The sermon, Friday's sermon,
and it is an element
the Eid
to
sermon,
make, yes,
or
to make
the lectures we give in the mosques. I personally totally disagree. I take this opportunity to say this here. I totally disagree about an imam who gives the Friday sermon in the Arabic dialect. I mean, in a darija, al-aamiyya. Al-mimbar is a very, very high responsibility, right? If people do not listen to the Arabic language, the fluent Arabic language, the Quranic Arabic language, on the mimbar, because I see some imams, they might use in the Friday sermon in talking in a very, very low level of, using a very low level of the Arabic, al-aamiyya, al-darija. And this is, I think, is not very proper, I mean.
Now, talking about the speeches, the way of first of all, before talking about speech, we need to talk about the choice of subjects on especially Friday speeches.
Yes.
If you are disagree about that, I will disagree about choosing the imam, for example, who is not from the place, who is not from the area. Yeah. There's some areas they have to choose the imam from the place. Sure. Why? Because the people know what they need to talk about and what they don't need to talk about. Yes. So when you have in your area the imam, he should know the subject that he has to involved. Because there's a lot of subjects need to be involved. He has to choose.
Imam who leaves sensitive issues.
Yes. And this is what we call it in Arabic fiqh al-waqa. He has to know the reality of the places. Yeah. Okay, I will ask Professor Mimouni about his opinion about that. First of all, are you agree with
well, I agree with Professor. It is an intricate issue because it's related with his type of formation, as mentioned. On the degree of tackling the sensitive issues, you cannot always. Yes. According to the Arabic language, I would say, well, because there are a lot of people who maybe are listening from the English-speaking world. When I was a student, I remember in London, for example, in the Mosque of London, they would speak in Arabic, and it was later on translated in English. In areas where there is more Asian community in Britain, the Imam would speak in Arabic.
In this case, Prof, I do agree with you. Translating from a language to another, I use it personally.
Okay.
Until now.
Then in Asian areas in Britain, for example, they would use maybe Urdu. Urdu language on something like. Then in
but they sometimes they say in a dars al khutbah and
khutbah,
it is sacred. It is sacred speech. You have to talk Arabic.
Let's sort out the problem. It's when the Imam, they are codified, organized type of Imam. How has to start with Bismillah or Hadith, and he has to use a Hadith before. Then maybe there are occasions or settings which are Islamically recommended. For example, during Ramadan we have certain type of sermon.
Topics, yes.
We have the Eid, we have the. They are now the day, like we say, the day of Imam. They are universal situations. They are
the birth of the Prophet.
The birth
Muhammad,
of the Prophet, alayhi salam.
upon him.
Then we have to. Then he is limited in his topics. Certain topics, he has to be use a very adapted form to the. Then I return to the formation of the Imam. In Algeria, for example, this is a very great issue. For example, if you say you return to history, the Imam after the independence, let's say, was the traditional Imam in the village, in the city, who had a traditional knowledge,
kind of
maybe related maybe with memorization of Quran and Hadith and something like that, maybe and he would use
based on narration.
He would use a certain it was from Jamiat al-Ulama or Zawaya, and they were versed to the religious life. Later on, after the independence, there were schools, colleges of formation in different parts of Algeria.
Yes.
They were in one part of Algeria who formed the Imam, and gradually they changed, or often they would change the program to adapt them. Well, there are basic forms, fiqh, jurisprudence, hadith, Quran, and things. And there were others about language, psychology, have been introduced, i'lam, then they have to adapt because reality is difficult to grasp sometimes, the Imam. Then it's very important, if he is the local country, by relation interaction, he knows maybe the situation, and he would use, for example, allegoric forms. He wouldn't tackle the problem very violently. He was very subtle to
with
say,
wisdom.
With wisdom.
Rasul
used to say, for example, فَمَا بَالُ قَوْمٍ يَفْعَلُونَ كَذَا وَكَذَا. He wouldn't directly target the person who has committed a mistake, but he would try to ease the thing. Then this is very important, that the Imam has to have this role, and peoples are differently granted by God to do this job.
Okay. As you said, Dr. Mohammed Belghith, Imama is a responsibility.
Yes.
It is not just leading people to pray or something like that, but it is
not a trip
between you and yourself, between you and Allah, between you and the others. Why did we say the Imam is very dedicated tasks, has very dedicated tasks and important in the same time? Because he is going to be a judge, as I said. People come to him and please, can you give us advice what we have to do? For example, parents, husband and wife, has very bad discussions and conflict between them. The Imam has to take mediation, and he has to guide them, has to give them advices, has to find a solution for.
You know, Imam cannot be isolated inside his mosques only, because Islam is different from. Islam is a way of life, is a system of life.
Yes.
There are people who try to call for to isolate the imam, as in other religions. They think that we are similar, right? The imam, there are people who say imam should do al-Fatiha during the marriage ceremony, and he should recite some verses of the Holy Quran in the funerals, in janazah, and that's enough for him, right? This is a kind of secular interpretation.
Yes, still some people,
Islam, right?
Still some people believe on that.
Yes, I am an imam since 40 years. That's why I'm talking, and I know really the situation, right? So there are people actually maybe who have a Western mentality, who think that imam is like the clergy in the church, right? Because they think that Christianity is similar with Islam, and they don't distinguish the differences between the two religions actually, right? Imam in Islam is different from that, right? Imam share the problems of the society. He is a counselor. He solves problems. He is a solving problems person. He is not a making problems person in the city.
He's even the accountant. When we talk, you were talking about something which is education, and I would say he's a counter. When we talk about mirath, you have to know the right amount that you need to give to, for example, the woman who his husband passed away, and she's got a brother, she's got sons, she's got a daughter.
To divide the heritage among family members.
If this imam doesn't know how to share the heritage, he doesn't need to be imam. Because
that's why most of the imams should be strong in mathematics, right? And as we were during the golden age of the Islamic civilization.
We need to talk about as well the decisions. The imam has a decision maker between his hand. Yeah. He has to make decisions. He has to be patient when making decisions. Yes. Because making decisions is not that easy. But you've got what you had to do. But make your decision before it's going to be late for the others. Being
imam, as it needs knowledge, right? It needs wisdom, as Professor Mimouni mentioned. An imam should be wise enough among the society. He shouldn't be the cause of any conflict in the society. He should be the cause of security in the society and stability. He brings union among the Muslims who are praying in the same mosque. He shouldn't be the cause of any conflict in the city, in the town, inside the mosque, among the Muslims, right? He should be the origin and the cause of stability in our society.
I think add to all that.
Yes.
Imam is the oldest jobs, I think.
Yes.
It's the first job and the oldest job.
Well, I would mention one thing which is maybe a bit more critical, is about the imam. He is a citizen too.
Yes.
As a citizen, he may be, for example, there are some decisions from above, from public services, which could be he wouldn't accept like another citizen. Yes. He has to have a certain autonomy. He's not just a servant of the
You take it from my mouth now.
He's a servant.
Autonomy and autonomy, authority.
Yes. But with the responsibility. Sure. He wouldn't make, although maybe some policies might not be correct, he wouldn't create, as Professor Belghith mentioned, fitna, dissension in society, or use it in a certain political way.
I think to resume, he shouldn't take any advantage. As others taking advantage by them.
In the opposite, right? We should understand how the society should behave towards imams.
Towards imams, society imams. On the service, public services.
Right.
I would mention something.
Please.
We pay tribute to the imam today, homage for him, but his socio-economic status has to be risen. According to this, there are imam who are living in a very difficult economic situation. We have to make this listen to this pledge to the authorities. Second thing, they are imam in their actions. They are opposite groups, and they have caused violence, even death to A'imma in Algeria in different periods.
Sure.
Because they were courageous, they were righteousness,
Brave.
or maybe they wouldn't agree with them. We have to protect them from the violence where it is.
Any kind of
Okay,
violence.
Shukran.
If you don't mind, just a second.
Yes, you've got 20 seconds.
Society should behave towards society with a high respect. We need to appoint an imam who doesn't need us, but we need him. Al-Hassan al-Basri, when Al-Khalifa al-Rashid, Harun al-Rashid said, why Al-Hassan al-Basri do not visit us? The scholars told him, because Al-Hassan al-Basri استغنى عن دنيانا واحتجنا إلى علمه. He doesn't need our worldly materialistic
Yes, he
needs,
ignored our
but
life.
we need his knowledge.
That's true.
Imam should be highly respected in this position and stature in the society. How can we make the Imam who doesn't need us materialistically, we make him self-sufficient in different materialistic needs, right? To make sure to guarantee that society should respect him perfectly. Thank you.
Of course, thanks a lot to both of you about this subject, which is the debate of Imam. We all agree that Imam is the one who has the highest status in our life, in our society, in our Muslim societies. Therefore, he has to educate people, he has to advise people. But in meantime, we have to respect him, what he's done and what he's doing and what he's done right now. At the end, I will say, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.